I always love to start sessions when you're not moderator, you're the stage, how do you call yourself? The host of the stage is bringing that kind of energy, so it's always much better to start as well. But first of all, very good morning also from my end here. So my name is Annette, I will be the moderator of this next session. And what we're going to do in this session, and as you can see already my wonderful panelists over here as well, we are going to actually dive deep into understanding how could public sector, private sector, and also innovative startups actually join the forces in order to create a little bit better, more also, I'm going to use the word sustainable and exclusive tomorrow in different kind of our environments in the cities as well. So when we think about technological advancements, they are really accelerating very, very fast. And at the same time as well, like the growing awareness there is a very kind of pressing issue, I would say, especially from the social perspective there as well. And I would start with a question like, how can we build ecosystems that harness the power of innovation while also that we prioritize empathy, also environmental care and equity. And maybe that question is more to the audience to also kind of think about first. But to go more concrete and actually maybe to start with you here, Hiroshi as well, because he is a representative from Panasonic. So Panasonic has been working now on the I'm going to try to say that .D initiative, which seems to be something very, very exciting, and especially, focusing on these issues that we're going to talk about here, like, empathy, environmental impact, and also the equity side as well. Maybe you can talk about this a little more, because Panasonic has always been, I'm going to say, more like a pioneer in tackling this kind of major challenges when we think about the ecosystem itself as well. So I will give the floor to you to kick it off first, and that the initiative that we're gonna hear more about as well. So just
great. Thanks so much for the introduction. So probably when you heard name Panasonic, you may imagine some consumer electronics, battery for Tesla or other electronic devices. That's true. Our today business is those kind of stuff. But .D means democratization, diversification, digitalization of a living basis. Why we are saying that way? Panasonic has been here to serve for the society and our customer to enrich their daily lives by having those products mainly. But nowadays, we do need to more. We need to do more for the sustaining our living essentials and the better society well-being. Then the Panasonic, what kind of things Panasonic can do and Panasonic should do, then we come up with idea .D, right? And .D is not only democratization, there are other Ds, how we can implement those initiatives, a way of thinking effectively into our business to be greater value provider in the market. Then that it's not only for the consumer market, it could be more societal effort and how we can collaborate public sectors and startups to make our society to be more livable and sustainable and more well-being. That's a kind of the starting point of .D initiative. But if you want to know more detail about .D, there are several mystery or secrets behind that. We have the booth in the second floor. Please stop by there.
I will definitely ask some more questions later on as well, but I will jump all the way to there, Jordi as well, yourself. I was doing some stalking and checked your LinkedIn profile before our panel discussion here. And in your description, you had wrote there that I believe that effective collaboration in innovation, R&D and technology transfer only happens when we have trust between different kind of partners. I could not agree more by, again, coming from the public sector point of view and understanding that also the success that we have built here in Estonia has been built on trust. So lack of trust can mess up things big time. How do we build that trust? And especially from your perspective, your background, what are the most kind of valuable lessons you have learned in order to especially that trust aspect? Because like when it comes to collaboration, you can't do collaboration if you don't have trust. So maybe you can just share some insights from that side.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the question. I think it's a very relevant one when talking about building ecosystems and fostering collaboration among different stakeholders. you need to kind of have this kind of trust. I think before talking about trust itself and how to build it and how to kind of maintain it over the years and over time, it's important to kind of have an overview or a context around the startup communities and the ecosystems that we try to foster collaboration and cooperation among different stakeholders. And one of the things that are kind of influencing trust is the speed of new knowledge creation, right? If you look back 100 years ago, on average, new knowledge were created every 25 years, right? Whereas in today's economy, we can have new knowledge every kind of 12 months. And with the digital transformation and the AI just booming now, maybe we will have new knowledge every few weeks or days. That's one thing to take into account when kind of setting up a trustful environment. The other thing to take into account is the lifespan of companies, right? If you look at the lifespan of Standard & Poor's 500 companies back into 1920, it was about 67 years, whereas last year it decreases to 15 years, right? That means that I'm afraid to say here that we will all be disrupted, right? So we need to do things differently by starting by today, right? Even though we feel that we are a very innovative and entrepreneurial companies, we need to have a long-term vision where we do want to hit to. And then if we have this kind of framework in place and the context in order to build this trust, I think we need to manage and align expectations, understanding that innovation is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a kind of a thing that needs time to realize. And different stakeholders have different kind of views and expectations in terms of the impact that they are willing to create, the volumes, the penetration of their technologies. Another thing which is very important is embracing change, right? Most probably, if I would ask you, like, who wants change, right? Maybe if I ask to the audience, almost all of you would say, we all want change, right? But if I ask who wants to change, maybe it would be less people around the room, right? But if I ask who wants to lead the change, it might be just a couple of people, right? And leading change is kind of something that is needed in order to build this trust. Maybe last but not least, regarding this question is like being ready to assume risks, right? Risk-taking is super important. If we just want to transform and to move from our status quo, we need to kind of be ready for that. And I think these elements are kind of super important in order to kind of build a trustful environment when it comes to collaboration in innovation and R&D.
All right, Madle, you're the Deputy City Mayor of Tallinn, where some of us here live, so it really does matter for me what you do. So when we think about bringing the change, and I think this is exactly what you are doing at Tallinn as well when it comes to especially the city urban planning side as well. I think when it comes to your public sector, and like I said, I'm myself also public sector representative here, in a lot of cases, when you have been working in a public sector for a long time, you might not even know what to procure from the private sector. You might not even be aware what the private sector is actually capable of offering. So my question is a little bit I would say a little tricky in that way. Is like, how do we make sure that our cities and our public sector are actually capable of really procuring the right things that are forward-looking and that are also actually applicable for the needs of our citizens as well? Because how do you know what I want in the city and how to really procure this from the private sector point?
Thank you for the question. And it's a really difficult one, actually, because in the end, we can never know exactly what people want, or they want different things. So if, it really goes well along with the title of this panel, like building, it means an endless process. And that is how in Tallinn we see the developing of the city. It is a process, always ongoing, and that's how we have to address it. And really, in recent 2 years, I think Tallinn, we have started to do a huge change, not only in the city planning, but in general in thinking how we govern the city and how we bring the change. What is usually how cities, at least how they used to work, is that some city planners came, they had like a great idea, they drawed it for years, and then they built it, and then they discovered that it might not work. And that's not how we want to do things in Tallinn. Not only when we talk about urban planning, but also in general governance. It has to be flexible, it has to be in accordance with, or it has to be in dialogue with, with different parties who have their interest in the cities. And so when we talk about urban governance or urban planning, what we have used now a lot. Maybe you haven't yet seen it all. I would be happy to introduce it to you. We use a lot tactical urbanism and different interventions in how we make the cityscape or like empty plazas or asphalted fields into city parks where local people can feel well. And if I say tactical urbanism, it means that we are not creating their permanent solutions, but we are trying out their different solutions, and on the basis of it, what is the feedback from the users, we develop it or we change it. And that's actually how we address in general the innovation in Tallinn. We, for example, have a program called Test in Tallinn that is opened actually to everyone, not only people or like the startups in Tallinn, but all over the world. That if you want to test different kinds of solutions, and they don't have to be beneficial for Tallinn, they just have to be good ideas, then please come and submit your papers for us, so we can really see what you are up to and see if we can be part of developing those solutions. For example, we really have, we have had the program for 4 years already, and there are different companies already testing. For example, in Tallinn also we are really much into 15-minute city concept. And we have there also a startup called Urbanly that is developing exactly these kinds of tools. So it's interesting to see what comes up and can we actually bring the change into the city.
So I always love these very concrete examples, and then especially Test in Tallinn is a good example for this. And there are plenty of cities I think also all of you here can come up with that you have heard the stories that it really works, and that they're also including citizens into the process of really like the planning itself as well. I've been very interested in also in Japanese case, because I've never been in Japan, sadly, hopefully one day. But maybe, Hiroshi, you also have some cases as well that either you have worked with the government in Japan or just something that really has effectively worked. And at the same time, again, on our topic, that it has created this kind of environmental impact in that sense as well, and really represents the values of empathy and equity there as well. So,
sure. So I don't know how much you know about Japan. And Japan is definitely one of the leading countries facing so many societal challenges, including depopulation, aging society, lack of a labor force, outdated infrastructure. All those will, our lives and our society will be not sustainable anymore if we keep going on. That's a kind of the crisis or a risk or threat for us if we just want to do status quo. But from my perspective, based on my experience working in the variety of the corporate venturing or innovation team, not in the Panasonic, but also the Toyota, Yamaha in the previous career, and this could be opportunities to try something new things. I believe so many startups here and also the globally try to disrupt status quo or existing one to be more modernized way or the forward-thinking way. If we are at risk to maintain our living essentials, living infrastructure, why don't we try to redesign those? Right, this is the kind of motivation. And then some small movement I could see in Japan. Again, Japan is losing people, losing population. There's no way for us to continue what we have been doing. If that's the case, how we can create ecosystem or movement working together with other parties, including the public sector, to design the system, the infrastructure, that gap. So that also we are going to invite the startups globally who may have a technology to change our way to live effectively in the practical space. And one of the projects I was involved in the past was Urban City. I don't know how many of you may heard of this, but this is the very greenfield smart city project, try to create test field of the technologies and the innovation in Japan, led by Toyota Motor Corporation. But they don't have the clear partnership between public sectors yet. So this is the good example, not only the Toyota's case, but also the Google's case in Toronto in Canada. There are so many significant efforts to make city to be smarter, better, but they could not realize, they could not reach to their goals. Why? There are so many things we can learn from. Now, how we can reflect, how we can digest those learnings effectively, and then how we can reflect those learnings into the next implementation. So that's why I still employ the Panasonic, but as one of the Japanese, I really want to make Japan to be a first penguin jump into the new generation of our living. Then I'm very much welcome anybody who are interested in the social innovation to test the real field. I can definitely introduce the right person in Japan to work with you.
Maybe you should go to politics.
Not really.
Come to Japan, I will promise you that. There's actually a follow-up question, and then also kind of what I would like to ask from your side here is to be curious, like you saw as well. And you asked your question. There's already one question that we have received, and this is again kind of a follow-up. I'm going to say. So Anna is asking us, how do you see the future of Japanese business world when the government decision makers don't like the changes?
Very good question. It's normal. Probably they will be against or hesitant to take that. That's why we are taking some approach. Government already agreed to set up some special district, maybe in the rural area or urban area, with specific purpose, right? And they are happy to deregulate only that special district to demonstrate, validate potential values, not only from the startup, but also from the corporation work together. Then if we can successfully demonstrate, validate our hypothetical values in the real field, then they're going to expand that kind of solution to be available, not only a special district, but also most of the Japan. This is kind of our approach at this point.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to you, Jordi, as well. So I personally think that, okay, when we talk about public and private sector collaboration there, we cannot miss also that there are academia. Maybe you can bring it out some of the examples also in your previous work, kind of projects, initiatives and everything. How do you and how should we include academia in the first place as well? Because I've always said this is where the ideas are being born, and we need to get these ideas into practice as soon as possible. Do you have any examples as well? How do we include academia into the ecosystem and the planning side as fast as possible?
Yes, very good question. I mean, we do not kind of forget about any stakeholder in the process, right, of building these ecosystems and fostering innovation and in a way that is kind of focused to create a better standards for living, right? So, as you mentioned, academia is a very important piece, right? It has two roles there. One is training and teaching and generating new knowledge. It's another one. And when it comes to connect the knowledge into society through a technology transfer process, it's again finding much more efficient, much more aligned ways to better understand what is the impact that this new knowledge can be kind of transferred into the market. Within this process, we have been testing different methodologies as part of different European funded projects, coordination and support action projects. We are working in a project, it's called Indusac, where we are kind of connecting company needs with the students and We bring third-party funding to kind of work together in piloting, in prototyping, in testing solutions for predefined topics or challenges that these companies are kind of willing to overcome or to bring into the market. And in this sense, one of the nicest things on this specific project is that we are not only targeting big corporates, but also small and medium-sized enterprises, which are very innovative as well. That could be one example. Another one is, and also it's very important and very relevant when thinking about the ecosystems of the future. It's a project we have just started. It's called AU Efficient, where we are kind of providing coaching to a set of group of people that needs to be trained and get some skills to foster this collaboration between the industry and academia, right? They speak different languages, they run different speeds, they have different objectives. So having this kind of intermediation is also super important. So this is just a couple of examples that I can mention. But again, the role of academia in any kind of ecosystem that aims at transforming and providing and provoking change, it's kind of definitely to consider, right? So it's everything on this paradigm of open innovation as well, right? So testing, piloting, prototyping, new ways of engaging and connecting and making relationships between academia and industry, academia and the public sector, and also being conscious about the use of resources as well, right? So this combination of things.
I'm going to go back to Tallinn. Did you want to add a comment? Or?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I think it's a really important problem, something we also we have as a challenge in Tallinn, that how to bring the technology, the developers and academia together, and how we create the benefit from it. And what we now have started to do in Tallinn is that to bring people from the academy to work in Tallinn, to make and also people from who have worked for years, for example, in the public office, to push them away, but in a positive way, in sense of directing them to join some kind of programs, master programs. That if I really believe into it, that if we exchange people, then that's actually the only way how the change of ideas is also possible, because otherwise we just don't talk the same language. And then it's good to say that we want to be innovative and we have these kinds of programs and so on, but if we don't have people who know the both sides and can translate the ideas from one party to another, then actually it's so difficult to really bring the change. And I think it's something that is really also challenging from Tallinn, that has prohibited some of our good projects actually to bring the to reach the goal.
But we are currently based here on the future states. So if I may follow up with you as well here. What do you feel? What are the future trends that we're going to see, especially in the planning the future cities in a way as well, that you personally feel that are the most promising, or that will get you the most excited if you think about this, that you see these things that are coming, some of maybe the plans that you currently have on your table that are still not in use, but you feel like these are going to be the most promising kind of aspects in terms of the future city planning?
Yes, I think there are really many aspects that makes me excited, because I'm really passionate into I'm really into city planning. But if we talk also about digital tools, then if we talk about city planning, it has been and it traditionally is something that is really slow, and just because how it's like in the essence of this process that we have to agree on the plans with the whole society, and then we can bring them into life. And it means many discussions and many different views. And in Tallinn, as we are now, we are approaching it in that way that although we understand that planning is a long process, we have to make it more agile. And we can make it more agile if we use with real-time data and real-time maps. So of course we have those long-term plans, but if we want to really build a 15-minute city that relies on the already existing services, the places where we have kindergartens, where people actually really move, we can't at the moment predict it for 10 years as the general plans do. So we are really transforming all the knowledge about the physical city and how people move in the city into like digital map layers, and trying to make a sense out of it. So how we can really make the plan the better city according to the real-time data that we have. And we have, like, the first step on it is that we are now changing totally how we think about kindergartens. We really think that kindergartens should be like placed next to where people live. It's like really in 15-minute walk you could have a kindergarten, and we are like tackling the places where we have to build them according to the data, and we start building them. And it's like the first real life change that we are going to see already, I think, next year.
Yeah, because I know that also a lot of Estonian, maybe I was too enthusiastic to say a lot of Estonian cities, some of the Estonian cities, do have also the participation budgeting for this as well, that you can actually choose what you want the city government money to be spent on as well. And I think it works very well, like in Singapore, as I have heard as well, that they do give people a chance. It's like, a very direct democracy, so that you can say, okay, I want my government to spend money on this and that, and these things really do matter for you. Do you think this is something that could also work here in Tallinn, or is there any cases like this in Japan? Maybe, Hiroshi, you can also kind of reflect back, because I feel like it's a very good method of really getting people to say what they need. And also that, okay, we do want money to be spent on these important things at the moment.
For now, not really. And the Estonia or Singapore, that's the example you provided. But we are currently planning and discussing with some key partners to develop new mechanism, how we can return fair award or reward back to the residents who participate in the innovation ecosystem journey, right? And for the most of the startups, when they want to validate their values from their business or product, they need a customer, right? Capturing customer, taking customer, acquiring customer is always a challenge. But when they can demonstrate, validate their real product, the business in the real space with people living there, that's going to be an acceleration for them to their journey to be successful. But we don't have any mechanism to fairly return back the effort that the residents provided for that journey. If we can develop some new system, for example, it's not well finalized yet, but just idea based. If we see some startup who joined our acceleration program to demonstrate some innovation in the real space, then if residents thumbs up, oh, it's good, that it's good for my quality of life, good for the city, or good for something, then we're going to invest in that startup. Then successfully that startup got a liquidation by acquisition or by IPO, whatever it is, we can distribute our capital gain from the investment to the residents who participate in those testing or trial POCs. There are so many regulation barriers still, but I'm now talking with some politics people and other urban planning people how we can implement those kind of ecosystem into the rural area in Japan first. If that works very well, then they are happy to expand that kind of system to the all over Japan, maybe the overseas. That's a kind of trying system, but we don't have the active system for now.
All right. I always love when the audience helps me to moderate panels. So thanks for another question over here as well. And I would like to remind you that you still have around 8 minutes to ask your question as well. I'm going to take the next one over here. So Marcus, somebody who here in the room, has asked us a question that empathy is generated through all 5 senses. we are heading more and more into online tech-centric society. How do we induce empathy in that, and do we need to change how we innovate? Jordi, let's start from there,
yeah.
and then we're going to do the round so everybody can, think
Yeah,
about
thanks
this.
for the question. I mean, that's a kind of a very tricky one. I would kind of take it from the perspective of how do I see the next or the future of an ecosystem to foster innovation. And as I am a great believer of open innovation as one of the drivers to building this kind of empathy and relationships in a much more kind of human way, I kind of have this vision of these kind of ecosystems managed by what I call chaos, right? And just kind of let me briefly explain what chaos means for me. The C stands for communication. So we need better communication and training and let people understand what science means and what applications AI could have or other kind of technologies that are on the news and everywhere. H stands for human-centric. I'm a great believer as well that it's not about the technology, but about the humans behind the technology, and that's super important. A stands for analysis, and yeah, today we have lots of resources and technologies and tools to make very detailed and specific analysis by using this type of solution. So we are kind of confronting the new era of the new knowledge based on data and data management, and I think that we need to be very careful about it and make sure that we distribute the value of data in a kind of a fairly way, an open and transparent way. O stands for open, like open innovation, open science, open source kind of things. And S stands for social, right? So I think we need to have in front of us a must have as a developing and working towards a more sustainable community, a more sustainable world. So any innovation should kind of have this component of social and sustainability, right? So I don't know if I am answering your question, but that's the way I see the future.
Madle?
Yeah, I think there's no other way than to agree that our life is becoming more and more digital. But this also brings along different problems that are, I guess, really evident, for example, in Japan, and that people are becoming more and more lonely, and it can be like a real epidemic. And we have to find some solutions for it, or like the different kinds of psychological problems that people do have. And they do have them in real world, not in the digital one. And so as I'm really into city planning, then I think the solution for it is just to be, and what we do in Tallinn, is to build better and more inclusive urban spaces where people can meet and talk to each other, because although we are becoming more digital, it doesn't mean that we are not still humans. We need to talk, we need to meet, we need to party, and if it's if the world is going to another way, then we have to bring it somehow back, but like in a way that everybody are enjoying it. That what we are now focusing on urban planning are exactly the people that might not feel or are not at ease maybe using public space. For example, girls. It's really a specific and important topic, how to bring girls back to public space and what kind of public space they do need. Or older people, or kids that, well, in Estonia, happily, they can go to school on their own, but in many countries they can't, and I think it's a really huge problem. So actually, although I really believe that although we are becoming more digital, and I think it's totally okay, we really have to focus on the real world and to see how we can make it better for everyone.
Hiroshi, anything to add here? Or?
Wow, yes. I'm considering what would be the right thing to say, but from my perspective, empathy came from sense of ownership. If we feel, I own this, whatever the government policy or activities or some effort, I am in that activity, I feel some responsibility, then I think, oh, I need to do something. regardless of online and offline. That's one of the keywords I got in my mind. The other word I want to share with you, as the Madle mentioned, and there are so many things moving on daily lives, and we are making the tons of the decisions and the choices every day, but most of them we don't have the sense of ownership. We know everything. That's why we pick A, we pick B, we ignore B, we ignore C. What's that? For example, I consume every day maybe a few cups of coffee. I pick the coffee beans by flavor, by price, by the country produced that kind of coffee beans. But there's no information about what kind of labor force involved in the production. If I could see this bean, oh, okay, this is my first choice, but it's involved potentially the dark labor force, I don't want to consume, even this is the cheapest price. That means I am making choices without knowing very important things matter to me. If we can develop the economical feasible cyber physical system to understand real-time and system, real-time situation, and also the historical data effectively, we may change our daily choices without sacrificing our own preference. That's a kind of a behavior change. If we can get those kind of natural flow of their decision change, choice change, and behavior change, that would be the opportunity for us to collaborate much more effectively across public sector, private sector, academia, startups. It's not easy. I'm talking about it very easily. It's not easy, but we really want to try this bold, ambitious journey. And Panasonic wanted to lead and this initiative together with other partners who really want to work for realizing this kind of future in the society.
I will end this panel in a little different way. So we are currently attending here one of the largest startup conferences in this region here. We have a lot of companies here with great ideas, people that maybe have ideas, but they haven't created the companies yet. Each one of you here, can you bring out one of the challenges that freaks you out the most, that needs a solution from a private sector, so that these people here in the room can start working on that solution and bringing the solution into place? Do you want to start? Something that freaks you out and these people can start building.
Yeah, thanks. I will make it short. I mean, being kind of in a moment where there is a combination of the human and the digital, around collaboration, technology transfer, anything that has to do with using blockchain to kind of facilitate smart contracts and a better distribution of the value along the innovation value chain, I think it would help to move towards this vision of having a much more democratized society and more inclusive one.
So blockchain solution, Madle, what do we need?
I have a really practical problem that I was talking to you also before. They really like to wear big earrings, but I can't wear them while I'm wearing the microphone. So can you please create the microphone for the stage that can be worn with big earrings? Thank you.
That's a very practical one here. So, Hiroshi.
It's not technology, but I could see the common challenges, not only in this region, but also in the US or Japan, the Asian Pacific area. There's so many people talking about, partnership is key. But most of the cases, from my perspective, just vendor-vendor relationship. For me, partnership between the public sector startup, private sector startup, whatever it is, must be 1 + 1 greater than 2. If you see the partnership 1 + 1 equal to or less than 2, in the worst case, you should say no to them. Even that it looks very sweet, no. If that a corporation like Panasonic offered some sweet the deal, but if you look, it's not the real partnership, you should say no. That way, we can find a much more accelerated movement in the ecosystem, that power ecosystem, actually.
All right, then please do join me for a round of applause to our panelists here.
Thank you.